Hey guys, what's up? It's Schla, coming back with the next episode of Car Rides with Schla. And today, I have probably a continuation on the previous episode. Sorry, I was just confused. This guy was I guess he was pulling over, but I assumed he would have just been driving. And then I also forgot to double check the test with the new filter. So I really hope everything's okay, because it was all based on a guess, and I don't know. But I've obviously still had time to kind of recalibrate and think about what I've been talking about, because again, as I'm going through this, I'm trying to figure out where I stand as well as what's true. And I already made that distinction about how in my assessment of reality, there is a big difference between what is and what should be. And I want to say that's a common trend with politics. Of the left generally might have the better ideas, but then when it comes to implementation of them, I think a lot of problems start to surface. And I was outlining that you did have mass education, but with the advent of technology, it's sort of diminishing the way that that's even able to hold its own. And I am making the argument that technically the experiment failed. The liberal experiment failed because even with education and democracy and all these things that we thought were the paramount end force, best thing, and that people would appreciate it all, a lot of people don't even appreciate it anymore. How many people even vote? Not many. And it calls into this bigger question of what is needed for a democracy to survive. Is it that you have to force people to vote? Or it's not even just forced voting. It's also educated voters. But of course, voter participation is a problem. But it's also the education of voters, because a lot of people vote based on merit that is not coming from, I'm just voting for who I think is genuinely best. I've spent a lot of time thinking about it. Some people do just vote based on vibes. A lot of people genuinely don't think about politics very much. I think I'm an outlier where it became my primary thing to think about. A lot of the time, it's not always there. I kind of go through cycles. Sometimes it's technology, sometimes it's politics. But I just want to, reiterate those same themes. And I'm wondering what any new insight I could talk about would even be at this point, because a lot of it is similar kind of stuff. But I guess the main thing I wanted to point out is that mass surveillance is already here, and it is impossible to refute that. I was watching a lot of these left-wing videos talking about fair criticisms. I'll say they're fair criticisms of Peter Thiel and Palantir and all these things. I'm not going to argue about the merit of that, especially for most of humanity. I think it's intrinsic that most of humanity would not agree with those policies because it's cold and it hurts most of humanity. I just think the thing to contend with is truth, and whether it's true or not, and whether it has to be the case or not, I think is the broader question versus just what humanity wants. Because that is obviously a dramatic difference. Humanity may feel comfortable with one thing, but then in reality, the better thing is going to be something entirely different. And it may be less comfortable. So a lot of people are ignorant, and I don't think they understand how systems work or a lot of the consequences of their actions. The main example I'm going to keep talking about is purchasing drinks. Doesn't make any sense. 99% of the time, they're very unhealthy, very inefficient, and very costly. Meaning inefficient as in it's a lot of effort to transport. And that's obviously a huge issue, but a lot of people are acclimated to the way things are and then just blindly keep using plastic water bottles, for example. Just keep buying them. Keep buying all kinds of other crazy drinks that aren't good for health. And I'm beating a dead horse at this point because I've talked about it before, but I think for democracy to work, you have to have humans intrinsically very hyper aware and looking to do the right thing, wanting to do the right thing. And that has really been diminished. I don't see that being the case anymore. I don't really see that many people who want to do the right thing or want to do what's fair. A lot of people, they want to be rich or they want to be famous. Now, of course, there's still a lot of reasonable people out there. I don't want to vilify everyone. But you see a lot of people with just very distorted and inaccurate views of reality, I think. Either over expectation in terms of rich, how rich they want to become, how rich they want to be, an over expectation of it. And then you also have under expectation, which is people who have problems because with the advent of technology, you can now rot your life away essentially fairly easily in a way that was not the case before, because before you would inevitably get bored eventually and probably still want to go to work. And then also, well, the economy was also better before, so you just had a little more motivation to do that. But nowadays, with the dwindling economy and a further understanding of further progression of technology, it makes it so that it's so sophisticated and they've checked a lot of the boxes to the point where it really can quench boredom pretty aggressively, like a real stranglehold over boredom. And so the danger in that is obviously that you have these two subsets of people. You have people who feel superior and want to be rich and want to exploit. And then you also have people who just want to rot. And so naturally, the equation of that is what we have. And that's why I'm reiterating my stance that the presidents and people who have won elections and who continue to do well, I don't believe it's a coincidence. I don't. I know, some people may argue, well, this candidate here would have been better, or that candidate there would have been better. But I think it's difficult to make that argument. I think that based on human psychology, I guess you can say, again, that thing about it being a systemic issue as being part of the cause, like billionaires over time rigged it for themselves or something like that. But you have to remember, it is still also people's fault. And I think I've talked about human psyche a lot, but I think the main thing with human psyche that is relevant for what I'm talking about, it's ignorance. It's an inability to see people and candidates for who they really are, and how easy it is to be misled. And I actually think that is paramount now. I believe that we're reaching a point where people are easier to mislead than ever. And I think that's very notable. And then technology has made that even easier because it offers these avenues where I've even heard that when you see stuff through a screen, it's different the way your brain interprets it, and it's almost more hypnotic. I've told people things before, and then they wouldn't really listen to me, or they dismiss it, and then a couple months later they're telling me the same thing I had already told them, but they forgot that I had said it to them, but then they heard it on a screen, and then because it was someone reputable, the exact same thing too. That's happened multiple times in my life. Yeah, I've mentioned something to someone and they don't listen, or they dismiss it, I'm not sure what. And then when they hear it, then all of a sudden, oh, now that I either, again, from a reputable person or because it was through a screen, I think a combination of both, they take it more seriously, which is very sad, but I think that's something to look into. What I wanted to explain because I'm remembering now, of course, 12 minutes in, up until now, it's just been total filler. My apologies. I'm not at my best right now. I'm very tired and exhausted from a day of work. My thing I wanted to talk about is that resistance is futile at this point. It is. There is no getting around it. I don't think there's any ifs, ands, or buts. It's over. It is so over. The middle class is over, and you guys can just kiss it goodbye. I'm dead serious about that. And here's why. There's talk about a future where property ownership is non-existent, and I think that may happen at some point in the timeline. I'm not sure precisely when. Like I said, when I give predictions, it's like I don't know about the exactness of these things, but I think the idea that you won't have property ownership in the future is a high likelihood, although it probably won't be, maybe it won't be in the way as you think. It's just that, again, I kind of heard it floated as, no, I'm not even going to explain it. The thing I want to get, sorry. The thing I wanted to get at is that I think people are you've already submitted to the system, and it's most people. So you see these videos on YouTube, and of course I get them recommended to me and I watch them, and they have a lot of views. It's not like their views are inherently low. It might have like 1 million views or something like that. But here's the thing. There's 1 million views, sure, but I don't think anybody does anything. I watch them. I'm aware of the whole, resist and stop using the internet and all this stuff. But I don't think anybody really does that. I'm not even sure how many people, of those 1 million something people, how many people actually finish the whole video. I finished the whole video and I don't do anything. And so I'm assuming that other people also don't do anything. If I don't do anything, I'm assuming other people don't do anything. And it's like, what am I going to do? Am I going to go to all my friends and say, well, if I had friends, let's keep that in mind. If I had friends, and say uninstall TikTok, uninstall Instagram, It's being used to survey you. There's this whole... People do not care. People do not care. Everybody is addicted to those apps, and they're not scared. And I think most people are just a lost cause. I think it's just that simple, where that's it. I think there's no convincing them, and they're going to continue to use these platforms and not blink at, not even second guess it, even if you told them that stuff. Because the whole point is, people are way too entrenched and way too addicted, which is why I think Peter Thiel is being as open as he is, because he's very well aware of the fact that he's won. He won. I don't know why these people are making these videos acting as if they're going to start a movement to counteract it. It will not happen. It's, again, mass surveillance, it's already here. It is already here. Mark my words. And again, a lot of these videos have little to no views, and it's very frustrating, but I believe I will be vindicated at some point. I have a lot. I'm trying to have faith. It's hard to have faith, admittedly, but he won. I don't know if it was going to matter. I don't think he would be open about what he's doing, because I think there's an understanding for them that it's time to push more towards the future, and maybe at least, well, it's possible. I guess I want to look into this more to see maybe what the intention is. Maybe he's hoping that it's possible that some people will see the interviews and stuff that he does and be able to understand it, like I think I do. I think I understand the reasoning, even if, sure, you can say it's bleak, sure, it's cold, but I think what is trying to happen is this idea of the inevitable, where even if Peter Thiel knew that this was going to hurt a lot of people and he didn't do it, what would then at some point somebody would, is basically what I'm saying. And even if it wasn't America, it would be China, right? I think a lot of these things are human progression, inevitability. And then if you accept that premise, which I think is true, that a lot of these things are inevitable, then that begs the question of what are we waiting for? I mean, if we know what the future is and we kind of know what we have to do, is there really a reason to wait? Is there really a reason to have stagnation? And so a lot of people, I just don't know that they're ready to hear it, but I have a feeling that he means to hit certain people or something, or else I don't think he would have done those interviews if it was really such a secret. I don't know, because I don't even think he has any intention of reaching a lot of people. I don't even think he cares. I mean, he uses Trump and Vance kind of as more of his face. So I'm not sure exactly what his intention is, but I would have a feeling that could be it. I wonder if he thinks enough people, even if very few, could be ready to comprehend what he means and what he's trying to get at, and that's why he's putting it out, because they're obviously going to need younger people to be understanding of the future. Now, of course, 20 minutes in, let me actually get to what I was going to talk about. This idea that is floated of own nothing, be happy, it's already sort of the case. I think with the nature of the middle class now, not only are you pressured to have multiple jobs, and you're also not even guaranteed consistency, because people have to work crazy shifts and stuff. A lot of people work part-time, and it's, it's show up at 8 a.m. this day. Next day, it's a 11 a.m. shift. Next day, it's, you know what I mean? It's a lot of chaos, so you don't really have autonomy even over your schedule and your day-to-day, which isn't fair. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. But again, like I said, there's a major lack of compassion and organization in society at all levels. That's why that's the case. But with this advent of credit cards, and even more so with the buy now, pay later, it's really, really pushing it in terms of just not having direct accountability for things. People can really live in a fantasy and really get away with a lot. I don't think many people are proficient at math at all. They don't understand how math really works. I don't think they understand the tax system. I don't really think they understand any of that stuff. And so a lot of people get, I don't know, they probably have credit cards with lousy rewards and kind of just get abused. But we're basically at the point where autonomy is dead. And I don't think that's something that's coming in the future. I think there's a segment of the population that it's now. It's here. Advertisements are all over the place. And in addition to that, you have a lot of people who are broke and who can still purchase things on credit with these buy now, pay later. So it's over. And you submit your autonomy to Instagram and to TikTok. You give them all your interests, and then they can advertise to you in a very specific way, particularly if you use the app as intended, which is a barrage of random content. They can get an oddly specific insight into what products you'd want to be sold to you. And it creates this cycle of total lack of discipline, total lack of autonomy, and inability to function. And of course, not everybody's affected by this, but I think a lot of people are. I think in addition to a worse economy, it's a worse financial environment. It's a worse and more predatory financial environment for people. There's more temptation, and there's less accountability up front. Of course, there's actually a greater accountability over the long haul, but it's all just an exploitation of human psyche. And all these things do is lead to more inequality. It's all that's going on. Yes, a portion of the population benefits from Klarna. Yes, a portion of the population benefits from credit cards. It's a minority. It is a minority percentage of people who actually benefit from these things. The rest of people, most people, do not. They don't benefit from them. They get abused by them and get hurt by them because they're exploiting human psychology. And that's just what it is. But like I said, I think we're here for a reason. And if we're thinking about the future of humanity, we already know what the elites are thinking and why we're in this position. And that is, they want to see progress. And they've probably already calculated decades ago that in order to have progress, you would need to have inequality. And I'm assuming there's something much bigger going on that I probably can't even understand yet, because I've only really just started interpreting things this way. So, of course, this is the beginning of my understanding of this stuff, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know either. I think we kind of talked about before when it comes to purpose and stagnation. People are depressed anyway. I mean, we have stagnation and we have comfort. A lot of people are okay. Of course, there's a lot of stress and anxiety, but that's understandable. But in terms of a day-to-day living, things are actually very good for a lot of people. You can get food, you can have a roof over your head. Of course, you're not going to be rich, but in terms of basic needs, a lot of people do have them met. So that's not really the problem. A lot of jobs are honestly fairly easy. They're nothing crazy. I mean, if you're like a cashier or, it's nothing absurd. It's definitely better than it was in medieval times by a long shot. And there is a lot to be grateful for about living in modern times. I think a lot of the complaining and whining is sort of overstated. It sort of flaws with perspective, because obviously a lot of people don't understand perspective. We also do have a large portion of younger people not participating, which causes problems. But then at the same time, is there even work for everybody? That's the real question, because a lot of companies want to be stingy and are just thinking about the bottom line. Back to what I was saying, because I'm getting a little bit sidetracked now. I believe this has probably been calculated decades ago, and I think it's no mistake. I don't think that Peter Thiel is the first human to really approach it in this way. There were probably people before him that could kind of see it. But again, you do have to question that if we enacted socialism and made everything financially better, I'm really getting to the point where I don't know how much that would help people. I mean, people are crazy now. And I think it would probably help more people. It might enable more people to eat properly, right? If they could afford better food. That's a huge thing, obviously. That's like the main thing. But here's the thing. I think under socialism, a lot of people would just not really optimize and just kind of continue to stagnate and not really do anything. And that's the issue, right? I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know what to really make of that, or if that's even the right thing. I think it's a difficult conversation, but I think I want to understand why. I think that always happens. I'm glad I'm going to say this because it reveals a lot. I mean, there's always, anytime there's these again, Peter Thiel. He is universally hated. I have not seen a single video on YouTube saying anything positive about him. I'm the only person I know who even, because and that's the thing that happens. When I see somebody being controversial, when I see somebody being hated, I immediately am interested in that and I want to understand. And that is a very key distinction. Because I don't want to just join the crowd and hate. I want to understand. And that's why I have listened to both sides politically. Because when, right-wingers hate Bernie Sanders, okay, I think why? okay, I want to understand what his point is. So I listen to the podcasts he's been on, listen to some commentators to get a feel for what that is, right? So I think that's a key thing about me is I want to understand, I want to know, and most people I know don't. Most people are not exploratory or that curious. And to be fair, it's because I think a lot of people just have other interests. I mean, they may have politics as a interest, but then they just kind of have their beliefs and they probably don't really think too much about altering them, and I don't know, they have other hobbies, they have other things going on with their lives. So if somebody's in a left echo chamber, they're not going to want to get out of that. And it's same with someone in a right echo chamber. It's exhausting. I think nowadays it's very exhausting to venture out of your echo chamber. And I've done it, obviously. And it comes fairly easy to me, but that's the key thing. I do this show. I talk for a hobby. I talk about these things as a hobby. Even when I wasn't recording, I think about this stuff a lot. I talk as a hobby. This is my hobby. This is what my life is. And it's not just politics. It's language. It's philosophy. So for me, I guess I have an extended patience, but I don't even know if that's as accurate as just saying this is my thing. This is literally my thing. Communication, thinking and speaking has been my paramount thing. I don't really like video games that much now. I'm not too into it. I told you there's been a trend with when I was younger, I did, but over time I gravitated more towards auditory content. And then where I'm at now, where I don't even really watch YouTube videos very much. I listen to them. But a YouTube video for me has to have a depth of speech, and it needs to be good enough speaking-wise to where I can listen to it without needing to watch it. If I have to watch a video, and again, that's why I think I don't like video games as much, because it's not my thing. And I guess it's a bit unusual. I mean, maybe it's not unusual, but it seems unusual to me. Maybe in the way I execute it, it's unusual or something, but I don't come across many people like me, and I don't know. I guess people who are social are usually just social butterflies. I don't know if I've said it before on here, but I've always thought of myself as a secret introvert, or an introvert who's really an extrovert, something like that. Ambivert, but I don't think that's really as accurate of a descriptor. And I think that's obvious with what I'm saying, right? I should just kind of be a social butterfly, probably. There's not really a reason why I shouldn't be a social butterfly. That would kind of probably make me happiest. But for some reason, I'm not that. And for some reason, all that language and speaking energy has been channeled into thoughts and speaking on my own, and now I'm channeling it into recording, which, like I've said, is very good and happy and fulfilling for me. So, yeah. Sorry, it's already time to go, as usual. Right, yeah, I've really had a lot to say. Isn't that interesting? Because for a while, I want to say there was a week or two there where I was really running out of things to say, but this Peter Thiel stuff and watching that interview really just, I don't even know. I mean, something about it just really struck me, and I wanted to know why. I wanted to know why the hatred and what to do about it. And yeah, I guess that's where we're here. We're done, but I still want to keep talking about it. I still want to kind of navigate it and figure out why and what the future is and all that good stuff. So anyways, it's been Schla. It's big Schla and it's been Schla, but it's time to buy Schla. So see ya, Schla.